Welcome to episode 2 of the Shun Podcast, a weekly video game podcast discussing any news in the industry that catches my attention. Be sure to sub to the show on your podcast service of choice and head over to shunpodcast.com to sign up for the blog that follows each upload to engage in the conversation, as well as to support me through Patreon if you would like to help me make this become a full-time endeavor. With that being said, let's talk about video games. Alright, so I'd like to start off each continuing episode with a segment called This Week in New Releases, to try to give you a little bit of a heads up if you're not familiar with, at least as far as the big boys are considered, what's going to be coming out, so you can plan ahead. So this week in New Releases, brought to you by Metacritic.com. We have 5 new titles for the week of what is today? Shit. The week of January 14th, 29. Man, time is flying. All right, so first off, for all 3 major consoles and PC, on January 15th, we have Onimusha Warlords HD. On the 15th as well, for PS4 exclusively, we have an indie title called Vane. We have the release of, not all 3, but PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 1st, but on the consoles on January 18th, we have Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. Oh my god, dude, I haven't played Ace Combat since I think 4 on the PS2. It's been so long, but the series is so great. I just haven't really been with Sony after the PS2. The PS3 kind of detracted my attention because I was a 360, and then Xbox One followed suit. But I'm super hyped for this. It's coming out on both consoles anyway, and I have both, but I'm probably going to get it for the Xbox because obviously 1X, more power, whatever. The same day, January 18th, we're getting, oh my god, we're Switch exclusive. We're getting Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, which I was kind of disappointed at first, based off of the gameplay, but like, I don't know. It looks a lot like Fury, but just with No More Heroes, the universe kind of blended in. I really would have liked if they just would have given us like a true full-blooded. Oh my god, these fucking cows are killing me. I live like right next to a fucking farm, and these stupid cows, they won't shut the fuck up. God, but and then on 18th as well, for the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC, all platforms minus the Xbox, we have Year 2K, a postmodern RPG. I'm not really sure what that is. Either way, those are the games coming out that Metacritic thinks are important this coming week. So if you're excited for any of those, be sure to pick those up at your retailers and have some fun with video games. All right, so we have a pretty big list of things that happened this week, and surprisingly, all this stuff happened within like 2 or 3 days ago. The biggest thing for sure is Bungie splitting up with Activision. Bungie is probably one of my favorite gaming companies, period. The Halo series will always be my favorite first-person shooter, bar none. I don't care where the series has gone as of right now. 343 has, they've obviously been a little weird with the series, and hopefully Halo Infinite, like I said in the previous episode, hopefully it goes back to the way it should or has, it was popularized for. Oh my god, these fucking cows. Bungie's split from Microsoft was huge. Whenever they left Microsoft to seek their own ventures, everyone was like, oh no. They left with Reach, which was, it was critically lauded, but at the same time, I was also laughed at in a ton of respects for what seemed like a bit too ambitious of a project. They changed a lot of the core functions of Halo, and some people still to this day just can't stand the way that it works. I personally like a lot of the features they brought in, but I do understand why the armor abilities in particular were subject to a lot of dispute among the community as far as, whether or not they were jumping too far out of the main gameplay loop that Halo fans have come to expect. And I kind of side with them a little bit. I do feel like some of the things that were introduced as armor abilities were maybe a little too much. Armor lock is obviously a dead meme, but all of it, even up to sprint, it was a little weird. But then Halo 4 added sprint as just a core function that everybody could do. That was really weird. That was really, really weird. And then Halo 5 introducing all of these new movement systems. I feel like that was the final transition that cemented it's okay now. Like, we're officially, this is new. Like, we're not going back to the old ways. That, like, we want to do something different. And I respected them for that, because they didn't just tack on a couple of things that were present in other games and call it a day. I mean, they did that to a slight extent with 5, but they did add quite a bit of other movement features and systems that weren't present in a ton of games at that time. Just enough to make it seem like its own thing. Obviously, it would be nice, once again, if they just go back to that style, and hopefully that's what Infinite accomplishes. But there were a lot of things that they left off with, that people were scared that whatever company picked up the Halo franchise was going to screw with it. And a lot of people still think to this day that they did. But Bungie themselves haven't really done a whole lot of good after they left. That's just in my opinion. Okay, so Destiny, obviously it's huge. Humongous. I mean, the first game is a $500 million budget. A budget that has never, to this day, been reached. That is an insane amount of money for one video game. And understandably, I mean, it's Bungie. What do you expect? It tanked. I mean, like, it had its fan base, and it was pretty steadily growing in popularity after the initial disaster. But whenever it initially came out, like, it was all the stuff that they were hyping up, and oh my god, it's just like the Madbox console in the previous episode. They just kept on talking about, this is gonna be, the game to end all. Like, we're gonna have an MMO focused on console players and like a light scenario. You're gonna be do all these things. It's gonna have a crazy story, crazy combat mechanics, a huge sense of community. We're gonna have all this stuff, and then the game releases. The story is absolutely terrible, from what I can gather. And the only thing that really kind of pushed people to play is hopes that all of these updates would get better. But then, of course, of all the companies they could have chose to partner with, they chose Activision, which is completely their problem. I don't understand. Like, Bungie is Bungie. Why in the hell, of all the companies you could have partnered with, would you pick Activision? You might as well have chose EA. Like, I don't get that. Bungie could have gone to any door they wanted to. Anybody, any publisher would have taken them on. Like, you made Halo? Like, get over here. Like, make games for us. Make new worlds, new games. No, I mean, like, who wouldn't want to hire in Bungie? Why would they go with one of the worst companies in modern video game history? I mean, like, second to EA. Like, that's about the only thing that you can compare that they're better than is EA. Activision is such a terrible company when it comes to stringent monetary practices and just fucking their community. And it almost seems like that a lot of the Activision community just lets them do it. They don't care. Like, I don't understand. Either way, all this time later, Activision, being the greedy bastards they are, no matter how much anything sells, any of their, even Call of Duty, how much money any of their IP sells, it's never enough for them. And after the moderate success, by the time all the expansions for the first game were over, the player base, it started coming back, because the expansions were honestly making the game a lot better than what it was base. And that's great. And obviously they should have learned from that. And as far as Destiny 2 goes, they didn't. They put a lot more emphasis on a cinematic story, but coming from Halo into Destiny story-wise, I actually did play a good portion of Destiny 2. Just the story. I didn't really have a chance to or really the want to go through raids and the PvP. I kind of wanted to focus on the story, just because Bungie's really good at making like compelling stories. I mean, obviously they're not the most like technically complex, but the presentation in their storytelling is amazing. It always has been. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it, because the E3 trailers looked pretty cool. And it wasn't, like, it was okay, but it wasn't really that spectacular. They kept on beefing it up, like, before the game came out, having like, oh, we have so much dialogue, we almost have too much dialogue, it's gonna be great. Like, it really wasn't that great. It was pretty deadpan. By the end of it, I was like, please tell me that's not it. Like, give me some more expansions. And yes, they did, but it kind of failed. And that's not even bringing up all of the issues that the game had post launch. Way more problems than the original game had post launch. Most of this just being shady tactics that Bungie, in partner with Activision, used to get more money out of people. Started off with consumable shaders. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Then it devolved into I don't remember the exact. I'm gonna say it's raids, but an experience cap that was invisible. So after, no matter how much you were grinding over a certain period of time, once you hit that invisible cap, you didn't earn anything else, even though the game told you did. You didn't get half of the shit that the game told you because they were trying to halt progression so people couldn't just run through the game. Well, obviously people found out about that, and Activision shit their pants and told Bungie to fix it, like it was their problem. So, they fixed it. Among all the other crazy shit that's been going on. The first expansion, I remember people were complaining that all they really did was add, was it Mercury? I'm pretty sure it was Mercury, which was playable in vanilla Destiny 1, but they added that as a paid expansion. And of course, they, as far as I know, they changed the environment to an extent, and they added some more things to do. But the fact that you're going to take something from a previous entry in the series out of the base game for the second and then throw it back in at customers for DLC, that's pretty shitty. I remember the other thing that was included into the first expansion was a ton of customization options. Like, obviously your weapons, but also the shaders and skins and blah blah blah. But the problem with that is, the biggest problem with Destiny 2 is that everything was centered around the new microtransaction shop in the game called the Eververse that used real-world money to get, in-game currency for items in the Eververse, but which is already a fucking problem to begin with. But even more of an issue is that everything was randomly generated. You're paying for a ticket on a roulette wheel. You pay for an Engram. The terms could be a little mixed around, but as far as I know, that you pay for Engrams in basically like a loot box scenario. So whatever you pay for is just completely random. You can pay for Engrams based off of, I think, different categories, so you at least know what type of thing you're gonna get. But you can't just straight out pay for something that you want, no matter how much money you sink into the game. And obviously they want you to do that because that's literally gambling. And people under the age of 18 don't need to be doing that anyway. And I'm so glad that the government systems across the world are starting to pitch in and band together to get rid of shit like this, because it's gambling. It's underage gambling. It should be illegal. You're forcing youths that have impressionable minds into these shady tactics, and you get them addicted to something that should never be in a game like this. Like, gambling is made for people over a certain age, because by then they're supposed to have knowledge of, okay, this can be a habit, this can be a problem. I need to make sure that I don't overspend, don't do too much of this, and not lose all my money. And impressionable youths don't have that mentality. They're just like, oh, look at all this shiny stuff that I can get. Money's not a pertinent thing to them, so they don't really care about using whatever money they have. And the biggest problem with that, on top of everything else I said before, is a lot of people in that age group, they don't use their money, they use their parents' money through their debit card or their credit card. They ask for their information. It's just a one-time purchase, so that's fine. But the problem being that their credit card usually gets, it's saved onto whatever console or PC they're using to access those purchases. And they just keep doing it and run up bills through their parents' credit card in exorbitant amounts of money, or thousands of dollars worth of in-game items that are literally played at random. It's absolutely terrible, and the gaming industry needs to shut that shit down. I know that was like just a humongous tangent. Point being that after they released all these shitty updates and the expansions that everybody was like, the player base got to a point where a lot of even like really dedicated Destiny streamers or YouTubers just quit playing the game, and the community fell through like bad. So in an attempt to bring everybody back and fix the issues that people were complaining about in the game, they released the Forsaken expansion, which to date, as far as I'm concerned, is the biggest update they have ever released in Destiny history. But not only did they just add more stuff like the previous DLC packs did, it revamped basically the core game in and of itself. They fixed the Eververse, they changed a ton of things within the original build of the game itself, on top of adding new features that everybody was complaining about, to the point where it almost completely changed the game. Now, I'm not going to say 100% because I haven't played the game since post Forsaken, but the community seems to really, really enjoy all the hard work put into the game to basically 100% fix it. I'm assuming there's still probably issues alongside that haven't been fixed yet, but the bigger issues within the game have been either patched or fixed, or the systems have been replaced completely. And the community after Forsaken grew exponentially. People started getting back into it, people started streaming it more, people started making videos about it more, and the community was starting to foster more. And as far as Bungie is considered, they did a good job. They sold pretty well. Activision, on the other hand, they can never be pleased. If a game does not sell as well as Fortnite has in 2018, Activision will consider it a failure. It doesn't matter if it's their mainline series, Call of Duty. Every single year, Call of Duty gets a report from Activision that they're not meeting sales expectations, which obviously it's a bloated series, and it's been going on for so long that of course it's going to be waning in sales, but they don't care. They want it to exponentially grow, as if the same series that we've been playing since I'm not talking about the series in general, but the same gameplay loop, which started in, I can't remember the year that Modern Warfare came out, but Modern Warfare, all the way up until now, it's obviously going to be waning in popularity, but like over time. You can't just keep releasing the same thing over and over and over again and have people just eat it up, unless you're Nintendo. Activision, in an earnings call, I think it was an earnings call, basically just taking a dump on all the developers at Bungie, saying that the sales were not performing as well as Activision has hoped. And Luke Smith, one of the heads at Bungie, publicly responded on his own Twitter saying, quote, "We are not disappointed with Forsaken. We set out to build a game that Destiny players would love, and at Bungie, we love it too." So basically, fuck you, Activision. We love what we created, and we don't care what you think about our game. We're going to keep doing what we want to do. I don't care if you're publishing us. I don't care if you're giving us money to support this game. We love what we created, and you're not going to take the pride and joy that these developers, all this time that we've put in to make it right for the players, we're not going to let you take that away from us. Don't talk shit about us like that. Activision, they didn't like that. And a lot of the investors didn't like what they considered to be poor sales. And over the course of the development of the game, the sequel in particular, tensions were extremely high between Activision and Bungie. One siding with, "We're doing a good job," Activision siding with, "No, you're not. We need more money. We need more money. I want more. I want so much money that I could fill the Atlantic Ocean with $100 bills. And then I need to do that 3 more times. We need all the money in the world, and if we don't have every single penny, your game is terrible. You just suck." I fucking hate Activision, if you can't tell. So in this surprise reveal, I'm assuming that this is the reason. It's just they were getting so tired of what they consider to be a non-profitable series. They let Bungie go. They let them go, and not only did they let them go, but they're letting them keep the Destiny franchise. Now this is not anything like whenever Bungie left Microsoft, and they terminated their contract. It ended, and Bungie became an independent company. But Microsoft took Halo. They took their IP. They took it because they know how profitable it was, and obviously they made their own first party studio based off of some of the original developers of the game, along with some new ragtags that formed 343 Industries. This is unprecedented. I'm not really sure how many times this has actually happened in gaming history, especially with a franchise this big. Because despite its faults, Destiny is still a humongous franchise. Bungie seemingly can do no wrong half of the time. And as far as fervor for the fans is considered, it is kind of like a Halo community or a Nintendo community. They're really attached to the series, and I can understand why, because through the cracks there are some really good qualities about both of the games. They just need a lot more polish, and they need to stop preying on people that are terrible with their finances. Because you need to stop preying on people that are vulnerable like that. You're going to create this culture that's just constantly feeding off of money, and eventually that's going to make the game industry think that it's okay. You're going to start getting games that are so much worse than they are right now. I can't even imagine a world like that. But as bad as microtransactions, loot boxes, deals, as bad as it is right now, it could get a whole lot worse. A whole lot worse. Like, we could have Metal Gear Survive levels of trash in every single game. Ask $10 for a save slot. Konami, you're fucking disgusting. God damn it. First you kick out Kojima out of his own goddamn company, and then you take his fucking name off of the game that he fucking, his labor of love, the end of his franchise, you fucking rip him from the game. Then you get a lawyer to ban him from the Game Awards, so he can't even accept the reward for a game that he fucking directed himself. It's just, oh my god. And then you start releasing half-ass fucking just sponsored bullshit like that fucking Metal Gear Solid 3 HD pachinko machine. Are you fucking kidding me? Konami just needs to burn with Activision and EA. All three of those companies need to get they need to be liquidated. All their assets and IPs need to be distributed to companies that actually care about those games, those franchises, and the world would just be a better place. All three of those companies are absolutely fucking terrible, and they need to die. The problem is they have so many IPs that they control so much of the market share, yet they're not doing anything with them. It doesn't make any sense. Back on topic, Bungie is going to get Destiny full stop. They're currently in the process of transitioning the IP, because obviously I'm assuming there's a ton of paperwork that goes into that, but eventually they're going to have it to themselves, and they will be the largest, if not largest, the second largest. I'm kind of between either Bungie or CD Projekt Red, but the largest independent game studio in the world, which is great. CD Projekt Red has shown time and again that you don't need a publisher to make a good game, and you don't have to resort to shitty business practices to have a good community make amazing award-winning games. I don't understand why people just don't follow suit with CD Projekt Red. Not only do they make a shit ton of money off of their amazing and just incredibly quality games, but the community is so positive with them because they do right by the gamers. I don't understand why there isn't more companies like that. Why do we keep getting Call of Duties and not getting The Witcher or Kingdom Come Deliverance? Like, we need more people like CD Projekt Red to expand upon the industry. We need honest creative creators that actually care about what they're creating to spread across and get the message across, that, like, just like the gamers have said time and time and again, especially last year with EA and all the bullshit that they had to deal with Battlefield and Battlefront recently, that, like, we're tired of it. We're tired of your shit. We don't want to put up with it anymore. We're not going to. And you can shit on us as much as you want, but at the end of the day, we are your end goal. If you piss us off to the point where we don't pay for your games, despite you literally telling us to either accept or don't buy the game, that was the stupidest shit you could have possibly done. What in the fuck do you think is going to happen in the age of retaliation to publishers that we have right now, you fucked up bad. You fucked up bad. And now they're in such a low state that I mean, they'll seemingly try anything to get us back. And what's crazy is they're still pushing with their fucking agenda. I don't know what Activision is gonna do, because on top of all the shit that's been happening, as soon as Bungie left, their stocks plummeted in I believe just 24 hours. But I mean, like whenever you really think about it, what does Activision have other than Destiny? I mean, so I'm on their website right now, their games page. They have Destiny is still listed up here because obviously they're going through the transition, like I said previously. But let's look at their current IP. We have obviously Call of Duty. That is their cash cow. That's it. We have Spyro and Crash. Of course, they just recently got re-releases, and that's great. But unless they start making new sequels to those old school games, all they have is the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, which they fucking destroyed with the 5th entry. They completely ruined the franchise after releasing that big fucking buggy garbage mess of a piece of shit game. Like, oh my god, like how could you do that? Even Tony Hawk himself hated the game publicly on Twitter. He said that it was a bad game. Like, whenever you piss off the person that created the franchise to begin with, the person that's branding your fucking game, whenever he hates it himself publicly, you fucked up. The game was broken on arrival, and it never got better. So we have that dead franchise. Then we have Skylanders, the fucking bastardization of Spyro that you started a long time ago, which in and of itself wasn't that bad. It was like Toys to Life was a pretty good idea, but you made it an annual franchise just like Call of Duty. What the fuck? Skylanders is not something that you can make an annual franchise. Toys to Life has already died down a ton, but despite that, every time it was basically every year they release a sequel to Skylanders, content-wise, that really just should have been an update. They ruined it. They ruined the franchise. Nobody plays those games anymore, and they definitely don't release anything like that. I think they have like a series on Netflix now, but the game itself it's fucking dead. So that's it. Those are the two franchises other than Call of Duty that they own. Aside from that, they have what do we have? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan. Like, that wasn't a terrible game, but that's not something you can base an entire franchise off of. They own Chivalry, which, I mean, that's a pretty decent game, I guess. It's dead now, as far as updates are considered. Like, it is where it stands. That's another game that's not gonna. It's not. You can't continually make money series wise off of that. Transformers Devastation. That was a pretty great game, honestly, but that's not. They haven't touched it since then. Then we have the Ghostbusters game. That was It's probably like the greatest. I mean, game of the year, honestly. Whenever they came, right? You know, like what the fuck? I mean, we had Snoopy's Grand Adventure. I mean, I fuck Ghostbusters. The Peanuts movie, Snoopy's Grand Adventure. Now that's the real cash cow. It's safe to say all they have now is Call of Duty. I don't understand why they like. I'm super glad that they let Destiny leave with Bungie, but at the same time, as from a shitty company that they are standpoint, what are they doing? They don't have anything else anymore, and unless they just go through this revamp completely and start bringing back all of the IPs they have, and they're actually good. Activision is fucked. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Either way, this brings into a lot bigger topic on Destiny being a bad game because of Activision. Now that they're not partnering with Activision anymore, Bungie can't hide behind whatever they do wrong. Bungie has always been supported by the community every single time that something bad happens in one of their games, because Activision made them do it, and Activision owns the publishing rights, so they have the final say. So anything that Bungie wants to do that Activision doesn't like, they have to put it into the game anyway. Well, now they're their own company. They've said that they will continue. Okay, so quoted, Bungie also said that it will continue to move ahead with the planned Destiny 2 development roadmap, and that exciting announcements about what lies beyond are also on the way. All right, they don't have a publisher to hide behind now. So if they keep fucking up, they're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Like trust in the company is already waning, but now they don't have big bad Activision to shift the blame to. So if they keep messing up, then it's pretty obvious that the entire time we've had issues, Bungie has been a pretty big portion of the issues. I don't want to think that, because they've done so good in the past with Marathon and the Halo series. Just to think that someone would step that far off of a cliff and completely change their mentality, basically what Bethesda did with Fallout 76. I don't want that to be true. I really hope that this goes good for them and that we actually get something good. Like, I mean, even if it is Destiny 3, even if there's only 1 or 2 more expansions for 2, and then they basically revamp everything for Destiny 3 and start off fresh, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I'd be perfectly fine with just waiting until 3 and then picking the game up, trying it out, hoping that it works out okay. I really hope the best for them, and I guess that's all I have to say about that. Next news. Amazon, of all people, of course, I mean, why wouldn't they? Amazon is trying to get into the game streaming service industry. Quote, Amazon is planning to use its massive cloud computing service to jump into the streaming market for video gameplay. They apparently have about 32% of the streaming market. Not only that, but they literally own Twitch. So they already have a really big community of gamers that I don't know if they would immediately support, but they have a ton of back-end support just immediately. So it almost seems like an obvious choice for them to make a game streaming service, a la Game Pass and PS Now. And I'm pretty sure Google is trying to get into it too. I don't really know where that's going. Everybody's trying to get into this on-demand streaming service for video games. And yes, Netflix did it with movies, and Spotify did it with music. Obviously, that's not the first, but you get what I'm saying. It's been done in a ton of other media, and it's basically the standard now. So of course, and unfortunately, video games they're going to be the next medium for that avenue of entertainment. I personally can't stand it. I discussed in the previous episode that physical games are just, I don't want physical games to go the way of the dodo for many reasons. But it's going to happen, unfortunately, and if any company is going to do it, I honestly feel like Amazon is probably the best choice. They have so much money. They have so much money that they can pour into a service like this. With Twitch integration, they can make so much money off of this. Just charging a month's sub so people, have access to a big library of games to play and stream. Now, I understand that, it's going to happen. I keep on saying that. But I don't want this to happen. It's great for people that have the ability to do this, but me, including I don't want to pull this statistic up again because it'll take a while, but there is a good amount of people in America, just once again, just like I talked about in the previous episode, we don't have full-blown internet yet. This is getting out of hand. We don't need to do this right now. And I mean, to people that have really good internet, upload and download, you're probably in love with this idea, and that's great. I'm super happy for you. But one, I want to own my games. I don't care how great my internet is. I'm not going to be happy with never owning a game again and having to stream it through a service. Just get lost in the ether to video game preservation. But people that don't have internet are just left behind. Eventually, this is going to become such a popular thing that physical games are just not going to be sold anymore. And people that still don't have internet, or people that have caps like I do, that are being strangled by satellite internet companies because mainline companies will not get their ass over here, even if it is like extremely expensive, even if it is Verizon or Comcast or AT&T, something. People like me don't have things like that. We have to go out of our way to use satellite internet companies that are the cancer of the internet industry, charging exorbitant amounts of money for, I mean, just piss poor, just meager gains. I get 25 down, which, that's actually pretty good. So I get 25 down, 1 up, but I only have 10 gigs of data to use with that. And I live in a house with a decent amount of other people. Per month, 10 gigs goes by super fast. You're uploading, you're watching YouTube videos, you're streaming, you're playing games online whenever you actually can. It's like literally 2 games that I can even get a decent enough rate of play because the ping is so ridiculously high. Like that's gone. Come on, like that is gone, and like a week, let alone a month. And whenever that cap goes away, that 10 gigabyte cap goes away, the speed plummets to literally it goes from 25 down to less than 1 down. I don't even get a single megabit down. It goes into the kilobits per second. Like, it just, shit doesn't fucking work at that point. I've been kicked off of game servers because my internet was too slow. I couldn't even get a connection to the game itself because it was that bad. And you're trying to tell me that the industry needs to push only online game streaming? Like, no. Just no. We're not ready for this yet. Stop doing that. Just please wait until every single house, like, I mean, 95% or higher, like, we're not ready for it yet. I don't like this needs to be put on hold. We need to get a better internet infrastructure before, like, if this was in South Korea or in the more populated Asian countries, they have so much better. They have so much better internet. Like, I think it was Seoul. Specifically, their typical that you can get up to 4 gigabits a second for prices that are nowhere near as high as just 1 over here, and 1 is about as high as you can get in America, period, charging over $100 for internet. And obviously that's not for every place in the world, but as far as the big boy companies, they rape your fucking wallet. We're not ready. Just put this on hold, please. This is more of a rant. This is more of a rant than talking about their streaming service. But as far as the service goes itself, I really hope that they do well by it. They do well by the customers. They don't fucking charge an exorbitant amount. I hope that the game selection is pretty damn good. It better be. They better be getting all the publishers and all the devs they can get to prioritize Amazon's service, which might be good, might be bad, because it'll funnel a ton of competition between Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, which, of course, competition is good, but if people are going to be forced to pay for separate subscriptions so they can play certain games because, let's say, for example, kind of like what launchers are doing now, PC launchers, that, certain games are exclusive to certain launchers. If we have to pay multiple subs just to get certain games on certain game streaming platforms, kind of like you have between Hulu and Netflix, that's going to be a shit show. I mean, people are already paying a ton of money for stuff like that, like Spotify Premium and Hulu and Netflix and Pandora. Like, just imagine having to pay another 3 payments for Google, Microsoft, and Amazon just to make sure that you can play all of the games available in the library if you're wanting to stream. Like, that's so much money. Shit's getting expensive. And obviously paying $60 premium per game is expensive, but you're paying for just one game. Like, the game that you want to play, instead of paying for a service monthly that you really are just going for the like 2 or 3 exclusive games on, say, Google's platform that you really want to play, and then Amazon has most of the ones that you would play otherwise. Like, it's I hope it doesn't get monopolized or fragmented either way. It needs to be fair and open for everybody. I just hope that the only thing that they really push as far as competition is price, bandwidth, server status, and speed. Google's obviously probably going to win in that aspect, but Amazon and Microsoft both have a ton of money. All three of those companies can make really good streaming platforms, and I hope the best for them. Minus the fact that I don't think we're ready. Next, news. It's a little cringy. I probably shouldn't do that, but I love PewDiePie so much. Goddamn. All right, this is a little. I didn't know about this. It was a story from South Korea, of all places. I had no idea that they apparently have an extremely strict draft policy as far as the armed forces. Whenever you turn 18, under all men, of course, not women, of whatever. Men between the ages of 18, oh my god, 18 and 35 are required to perform at least 21 months of service in the South Korean armed forces. I had no idea about that. It's kind of crazy. It's basically like if America was in a permanent draft all day, every year in existence. Like we were just in a permanent draft, and you were forced to go into service for a certain amount of time. So 21 months, almost 2 years. Since that ruling, I think this is a pretty old law too, as far as the service is considered. But where this ties into video games, because I wouldn't be talking about this if not else. Politicians and prosecutors have attempted to get around the court's ruling because there are people that are conscientiously objecting, because apparently you can still do that, but the only way that you're allowed to do that is if by some religious aspect that say you're a pacifist, or like something that prevents you from being in combat or any kind of conflict, usually something religious. But like I was saying before, politicians and prosecutors have attempted to get around the court's ruling for them, for the objectors, by requiring conscientious objectors to carry out more stringent and potentially more dangerous forms of non-military service if they have been pushed back. So anybody in South Korea that wants to conscientiously object based off of their religion or something like that, instead of just letting them go, the government will force them into non-military scenarios that are apparently a lot more dangerous than frontline combat or just operations in general. So there wasn't a whole lot other than the worst thing that they're required to do at some points listed, but potentially more dangerous forms of non-military service somehow accrues to minesweeping. That was the worst thing that they had listed on the website. That I don't know how that isn't military related, but conscientious objectors are forced into minesweeping, among other things, if they refuse to join the armed forces because of their religious beliefs. And what's more ridiculous than that is the Liberty Korea Party put forward a bill to force the objectors to perform 44 months, not 21 months, double the usual length of service. Like it says right here, including minesweeping and other dangerous activities. So not only are the conscientious, I don't know why I've been having so much trouble with it, conscientious objectors getting twice the amount of service just because they have some kind of belief system that would prevent them from getting into conflict, but they're forcing the people to do so much more life-threatening, dangerous things that they might as well just go against their religion and go into the armed forces, because it's a lot less life-threatening. That's crazy. But once again, where this pulls into video games is they're trying to take conscientious objectors that have played violent video games out of that termage, so they can force them to go back into service because they consider violent video game playing as a form of anti-pacifism. So if you have a religious belief system that promotes pacifism or avoidance from any kind of military or otherwise, just any kind of conflict like that, if you play video games under that belief system, that has any kind of violence, any kind of shooting, any kind of anything, you're basically considered a liar, and you're stripped of your rights to be a conscientious objector and forced into the armed forces. There are so many things wrong with this. And this continually goes back to the argument that violent video games are coercing people into doing violent acts. It's obvious that the people that are trying to prosecute these human beings into something that they religiously don't want to or can't abide by, they're just trying to find a way to force them to do it anyway, and they're blaming video games for them going against their religion, which has nothing to do with what they do in real life. If they're playing a video game that, like, we're playing Halo, we're killing some Covenant, and I mean, shit, you just kill some Marines because it's kind of fun, but that doesn't mean you're gonna go out and do something like that to another person. I could sit in my room and play Doom 2016 because that's such a great game. I could play that for 8 hours straight. That doesn't make me want to go outside and grab a fucking chainsaw and go cut people up and rip their guts out, break their necks, smash their heads in. Like, it's just a game. Whatever I'm doing in the game doesn't directly connect to what I want to do to people in real life, let alone me actually doing that to somebody. I would never lay a finger on somebody like that in any way, shape, or form unless it was through self-defense. There is absolutely no connection with violence in video games to violence in real life unless you have some kind of mental disorder. And the problem seems to be that people with mental disorders are being kind of just shoved into this into the same group as people without, as if everybody that plays games automatically has a mentality of, I'm going to kill somebody if I'm killing somebody in a video game. That's ridiculous. You're not only are you obviously putting down normal people that just want a pastime to lay back, relax, and have fun, maybe escape from modern life to get out their aggressions, because they obviously can't do that to somebody or another anything in real life without repercussions. But somebody that acts upon that more than it's 100% of the time. Anytime something bad happens, if mainstream media can find a single, I don't care how small it is, if they can find a connection between the person that did it and violent video games, that is the first thing they blast all over the news, like it's the sole reason that they did something bad in the first place. No, it has nothing to do with the fact that they have a brain disorder. It has nothing to do with the fact that they were terribly raised, possibly raped or molested as a child, giving them unsettling thoughts, and also it has nothing to do with just parents just being shit parents and not teaching kids the right way to learn, grow up, what to do and not. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's all the video game's fault, brainwashing children into doing things like this. It's sick. It's fucking ridiculous. So back onto the article. Lim Tae-hoon, head of the Center for Military Human Rights Korea, told CNN the investigations of conscientious objectors showed prosecutors still see objectors as criminals, which is ridiculous, because if you're within a religious construct that does not allow any kind of violent activity, and you firmly believe that, and it's not just a hoax, if this is actually something that you were born and raised, you believe, with your heart and soul, and then someone forces you to do otherwise, that's completely and 100% morally wrong. You can't. That would be like going up to somebody that can't eat a certain food because of their religion, and just grabbing that food and just fucking force feeding them that food. Like, you can't do that to people. You have to respect other people's identities, their policies, their religions. And like, if you're not doing that, you're just forcing people into a funnel. Everyone's the same. Nobody has individuality. You're taking that right away from them to be a human being. They are imposing a moral line fit for saints and spiritual leaders on them. That's exactly right. The government and the community in South Korea basically looks at conscientious objectors, apparently, as far as I can read from this, they look at them like lesser people because they're not willing to, quote, serve their country. But it's not because of a lack of patriotism. It's just because of their religious beliefs. Shooting video games and the refusal to bear arms is unrelated. It is subjective judgment. A game is merely a game. Thank you. Like, at least there's somebody over there fighting for their rights and doing the right thing. There is absolutely no reason that anybody should be treated this way. It doesn't matter where they're from or what background they have. Everybody should be treated correctly as an individual, and you need to respect each other's rights to have a religion. Obviously, that's not in the Constitution for every single country in the world. A lot of places are a lot more strict and stringent, but just as a general rule of thumb, for just humans in general, like, we should be able to have the freedom of religion. We should. There's like, that's why I don't mean to get, I'm not being political about it because I don't like talking politics, but humans should have rights. We're not lesser beings that should be tortured and played around with like toy things just because that our view of the world and our view as human beings don't coincide with somebody else's. You have to treat people correctly. And whenever I see, like, it pisses me off whenever I see stories like this. And obviously it hurts my feelings just reading this and seeing what is going on outside of my little bubble. But the fact that they're trying to tie in video games to this, it pisses me off to the core. Mainstream media just, they constantly berate people that play video games like they're some cancer to the world, like they're all lazy fat fucks that do nothing with their life, but play video games and go nowhere, and that's complete fucking bullshit, and I'm tired of it. It's ridiculous, and I'm gonna stop right now before I get any worse because I need to. We have a couple others still. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today. We have 3 more stories. And I'm going to go into, I'm going to skip ahead to the last story because it's pretty short and it's also very endearing. People with disabilities can expect more accessibility to video game communication services like text and voice chat in the near future thanks to a U.S. law that now affects the industry. That is absolutely amazing. The 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act, signed in 2010, makes sure that accessibility laws written in the 1980s and 1990s are updated with 21st century technologies in mind, giving disabled people greater access to modern communications like voice chat, text chat, and video chat. The games industry managed to avoid full compliance with these laws by receiving a series of waivers, but thankfully, the last of those waivers expired last year on December 31st, according to the International Game Developers Association. So games that enter development after that date must now be fully compliant. So basically, and this isn't just peripherals. These are games and consoles themselves. So not only will they have to support accessibility for people with disabilities so they can access features like that, they have to enable UI within the game or the console, whatever system they're using to communicate itself. They have to make UI that is compatible with their disability, so they're not forced to get help from somebody else that isn't disabled. So people with disabilities have a lot more grounds for feeling accepted and put into the same environment as people without disabilities, and that's fucking great. Microsoft did a huge solid to the disabled gaming community by introducing the Xbox Adaptive Controller, which it's been a long time since that was released, so it's it wouldn't be anything new to talk about it right now. But what they did, I mean, it was a labor of love, and I understand that they're so far behind in the competition that cynics are like, oh, they're just doing that because they're so far behind and they want to get all the praise from everyone else. And I mean, like, while that it's 100% possible that could be true, I don't want to think that way. Like, it's just a nice, genuine thing to do for people that, I mean, there's so many people in this world that are disabled that are also gamers that I couldn't imagine if I couldn't use my hands to just normally hold a controller and play a game, I'll be broken on the inside. And people that have been born with disabilities like that have never been able to fully experience the proper way to play a video game, I feel for them. I really do. And they people that want to experience games shouldn't be hindered by their disabilities. Everyone should be able to play games accordingly. And with the adaptive controller, anybody that has a disability can play on their Xbox. And apparently now it's been modified. You can modify it to force it to work on a PlayStation. So whether you want to play on the Xbox or the PlayStation, it'll work perfectly fine. I'm not sure if it works on the PC, but either way, that's amazing. And now on top of that, we have a literal law by the U.S. government that will force game companies to develop technology that makes it easier for people with disabilities to communicate via voice chat, text chat, and video chat. That's great. That's absolutely amazing. And another thing on top of that is that games released before December 31st that receives substantial updates after that date must also be compliant, which of course would be online focused games. So like Destiny 2, World of Warcraft, Fortnite, I'm assuming Minecraft, like any game that is still current and getting constant updates, they also have to put into support. So it's not like somebody that has seen a game from their past, or at least recent past, that's still getting updated. Like, oh, I want to play that game, but I can't because of the bill. And all. Well, you'll still get a chance to. It's absolutely crazy. I'm super happy that this is happening. And for anybody any disabled gamer, if you are watching this, I hope you're happy. I really hope that this gives you a little bit more motivation, because I know people that are disabled, and I understand the frustration that goes with being disabled from their not from me obviously, but from their perspective. And the fact that something like this is being created, it's great. It's absolutely great. So now back into some of the more negative news. Got 2 more to go. Epic Games gets an F, an F rating from the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau said that over the past year, Epic Games has received more than 270 complaints. Most of the complaints regard customer service issues and problems with refunds and exchanges, and most of them were never addressed by the company. Okay, so there's 2 sides to this that I feel need to be explained. Just because you get a rating, that's a bad rating. Obviously, that's a terrible rating. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are being a bad company. I don't want to be the pessimist and say that they are. But there's 2 sides to this story. This game is fucking enormous. I don't know if you fucking know, but Fortnite is it is the new Minecraft. It is the new Halo when it came out. It is the new Call of Duty when Modern Warfare came out. This is its size is unprecedented. There's so many people playing this game. I could not imagine how tough it is to be a customer service rep at Epic right now. I could not imagine all the people complaining constantly, just over and over. I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's obvious that a big portion of this community is children between, let's say, the ages of 8 and 14. Let's just say that. I know there's a ton of people that are of age that play the game, because it's personal preference. I'm not huge on it, but I understand why it's so big. The problem being that because this community, there's no way it's not. The community is comprised of so many younger kids that are extremely irresponsible with their money. They're extremely irresponsible with services like that for customer support, that they're more than likely getting so many emails about stuff that isn't actually a complaint. There has to be an automated filter system to sort this stuff out, because I bet you $100 that half of the complaints they get aren't even valid, because they're either from kids that are telling something to their parents that is completely untrue so they can get their money back, they're asking for a refund for something that doesn't offer refunds. So it's just something stupid that kids are too dumb to read, because I mean, who the fuck reads terms of service anyway? Especially not a stupid little kid. The amount of PR that this is probably gonna get is kind of sad, because whenever you think about it, like as big as this game is, like I said, I don't see how you're supposed to effectively manage this many people complaining about a game. As many ways, like you would have to have a customer service team like the size of the company itself to actually physically deal with all these problems at the same time. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the fact that they're just being lazy as fuck. They have all the money that they could possibly garner from a video game in general. Why in the hell would they care about customer service whenever people still keep buying their stuff, their skins? The business model is fucking genius. Okay, it's obvious that if this game was paid, it wouldn't be anywhere near the it wouldn't have the amount of success that it has right now. It's a free game. You can play the entire thing completely free. Admittedly, all of these really detailed cosmetics, the animations and the sticker packs and all of the add-ons that are included in the game, people buy them out the ass. All the little kids are like, oh my god, I gotta get this. I gotta buy the season pass. I gotta buy the first 25 levels. I gotta buy this every single month, and then I gotta buy all the skins and all the emotes, and I just gotta get it all. And you get, like I said, you get one purchase in with the store. It locks in your credit card information, and kids are just like spamming, like, oh, let's buy this and that and that and this and that, and then their parents get a credit card bill back in the mail. They're like, oh my god, why am I missing this much money? Why is the bill this big? And then they call up Epic and like, oh, I never paid for this. I blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, ma'am, you did. Your son is an irresponsible jackass and did not tell you that he's been constantly buying stuff with your money. Like, there has to be so much turmoil going on over there right now. People the customer service over there is probably just shitting a brick right now. Or they probably have been for a long time. I don't think this is fair. I don't think that giving them an F is fair. And I understand why they did it, but the reason behind why it's more than likely getting this, it kind of, I don't want to say, they should like get a slap on the wrist, but I just don't see how it's possible for them to keep up with this many people, considering how big the game is. It is waning in popularity now, but it's already got such a lead. It's so big. I mean, you just don't see something like this. And it doesn't matter how big the company is. Epic Games wasn't really, I mean, they were big, but nowhere near as big as they were until this happened. And it just happened. Like, it only took a couple months. The game was fucking flying off the shelves. They stopped making they stopped making physical copies because they couldn't keep up. Digital was just exploding. And I don't see how it's feasible. I don't see how it's feasible, especially considering that it happened in like the second half of just 1 year. So like hiring in all these people, it's not going to happen. That's too much to work with in one short span of time, and I completely understand why they got such a low rating. I just don't think it's fair. Last news. This is a little spicy. A lawsuit accuses the CEO behind blockbuster Borderlands video games of lewd behavior and pocketing a secret $12 million bonus. Okay, so this started out whenever Gearbox Software engaged in what they say contentious legal battle with the company's former general counsel, Wade Callender. Gearbox initially filed a lawsuit against Callender alleging that he misused company funds to pay for a tuition, a home loan, and other personal expenses. Now, it says that under the agreement of Callender working for Gearbox, it said that the suit claims that the Gearbox has agreed to pay Callender's tuition for an MBA program and a home loan in exchange for his continued employment at the firm. The problem is he left the company less than a year after he got his degree. So the money that he basically ran away with the money. Now, obviously, that's a huge problem. Gearbox filed a lawsuit against him because he misused the funds that he got to pay for those things. So he didn't use the money. He didn't use the money that he got just for those expenses. It says that from 2016 up until his resignation in July 2018, Callender incurred thousands of dollars worth of charges from Disneyland, Frisco Gun Club, Gun Gear to Go, and sixpackshortcuts.com, just to name a few. So he used the money that was given to him by the company to pay for his tuition, his home loan, on just frivolous things. And then he left the company after he got his tuition, which means they had to pay out more money. It went to the wrong place. So he basically laundered the money that he was supposed to take for one thing. He spent it on something else, and Gearbox wants their money back. So then in a countersuit, whenever a Callender received the suit, in a countersuit, Callender leveled multiple serious allegations against the Gearbox CEO, Randy Pitchford, accusing of Pitchford taking a $12 million bonus that was intended as an advance against profits of Borderlands 2. So he is countersuing Randy Pitchford for taking $12 million worth of money that was supposed to go into the development of Borderlands 2 and pocketing it to use for himself. So there's like this constant like back and forth between both of the parties about, you took money, so we're just going to sue each other and see what happens. And what's terrible is apparently they used to be really good friends. They said, it says Callender and Pitchford were longtime friends for over 40 years, but the friendship fell apart over the last 2, according to Callender's lawsuit. I mean, that's ridiculous. Could you imagine being friends with somebody for 40 years and actually, we getting to work with each other in the same environment for either way, for let's say 4 years, being with somebody for that long, friends with somebody for that long, and then all of a sudden they just fuck you like that. I mean, like, could you imagine just the disdain that you would have for somebody that did it? Of course he countersued because he's a little dickhead apparently, but I mean, that's a lot of fucking money. That is an exorbitant amount of money. And I hope to God that this actually gets settled correctly and that the money goes to the respective owners and everything gets solved. But I mean, it's insane. That's crazy. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I just thought it was an interesting topic to include. But that is the end of episode 2 of the Shun Podcast. If you liked the podcast, subscribe to the podcast on whatever streaming platform that you listen to it on, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, which we now have approved, Google. I think that's it actually. I'm hoping to add more as I figure out exactly where people are listening. But please, if you liked it and you for some reason don't feel like following, at least share the podcast to all the social media that you can, or even if it's just one time, trying to get some organic growth going. I have all of my socials open: Instagram, Twitter. I'm working on a Facebook page. Go over to those, drop me a follow, share my page, share the podcast in any way you can to try to grow this community a little bit more. If you did like it to the point where you want to go past that, I do have a Patreon on my website, shunpodcast.com. You can go over to there. It'll have a very nice introduction of where exactly to go to follow to any of the platforms that I've listed if you want to follow. And then below that, there's a donation link that'll bring you to my Patreon. If you would like to support me, I would be extremely gracious. That would mean the world to me. But if you don't, it's perfectly fine. And on top of that, if you like the place to communicate, as far as the podcast is considered, everything that I talked about, everything that I will talk about in the future, go back to shunpodcast.com on the blog section, sign up for the blog, and at the end of every episode, after it airs, there will be a blog post, attached to the episode itself, kind of as the discussions for everything that I talked about. If it would mean a lot to me if you join the discussion, sign up for the blog, and we can get a conversation started about everything that I talked about, as well as any kind of critique or anything related to if I did a good job, if I wanted to improve on anything like that. All those options, all those avenues for sharing, following, please take them if you enjoyed what you would you listen to? Because I honestly could use as much help as possible. Starting out is really tough. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I guess that's it, and I will see you next week.